Hi everybody, Joe here from SHUTTERSPEAK Photography. Nice to see your faces again here on YouTube. Alright, so since we're getting into a little bit nice weather and we're all stuck indoors, at least here in New York, as the pandemic winds down, thought it'd be fun to show you how to Photoshop yourself into someplace a little bit nicer, like the beach. So I'm actually not going to use a picture of me because you want to see a picture of me being photoshopped on the beach. We're going to use a model, make it a little more fun. But I'll step you through it, including how to match the colors so it looks realistic and how to add a drop shadow. All right, so let's get started. Okay, so here we are in Photoshop and we have our girl. Unfortunately, she's stuck inside in isolation and she can't get to the beach, but she'd really like to be there. So we're going to Photoshop her and put her at the beach and make her dreams of the ending of isolation come true. So we're going to bring her from here to here. We're going to add in a super easy to do shadow that's going to look really realistic, and you're going to love this technique. Even if you're an advanced Photoshop user, you're going to love how simple this technique is for creating a shadow. And we're going to match the colors up, and I'll explain why we're going to want to do that as well. And we're going to make it super believable that she is at the beach. All right, so let's get started. So first thing you want to do is select the quick selection tool right here in Photoshop. And now there's a couple of different ways you can go with this. Because she is on white, we could just select the white color. And we could work that way, and we'd get these holes in the hat and things like that, and we would see the light coming through. I've tried it. It doesn't look super realistic in some spots, and other spots it works great. I'd kind of say, you know, take that for what it's worth. The odds of you at home having a photograph on a super white background like that is probably pretty slim, so I'll show you how to do that really quick, and I'll show you the other way as well. But that being said, if you're photographing and you have light hair, you're going to want to try and photograph yourself on a dark background if you want to Photoshop yourself into an image. And conversely, if you have dark hair, photograph yourself on a light background. It'll make cutting you out easier, especially getting all the hair. Okay, so if we were going to just select the color range, which we definitely could, we could say select color range. You're going to make sure this invert box is checked, and pretty much just sample any of this white colors. Photoshop picks it out automatically, and you could just say OK. And then from there you can just take away the parts that you don't want in. So you would hold down the Alt key with the quick selection tool in place and start brushing things out that you didn't want included, like the polka dots and all of that stuff. And you can get this done pretty quickly. Okay, now the other way to go, and again, I don't necessarily recommend this way because the odds of you at home having been photographed on a pristine white background are pretty slim, but you do see how you get all these holes in the hat, which is kind of neat. So let's deselect this. The other way is with a quick selection tool, just simply click select subject and let Photoshop do its magic. Now it's not going to get those white spots, but it does do a pretty bang-up job of getting most of this right. Okay. Now, the key here is get the selection as good as you can at this stage, and you're going to have a much better selection in the end. So let's zoom into some of the trouble spots like here. Okay, and we're going to take that quick selection tool, make it nice and small. Okay, and we're going to hold down the Alt key because we want to remove this area. Okay, and let Photoshop work its magic. I'm going to get this maybe a little bit smaller, and all of this in here. And we're going to get this little section right here. Hold down the Alt key so that the plus becomes a minus, and then select that area. Now we're going to fix up some trouble spots if we can. So let's see if we can get this back right there. Looks like we can. Trouble spot here. We can get that back, and this is just going to save us problems later. This looks pretty good. We want to get rid of this, so hold down the Alt key so the plus becomes a minus. Let's get rid of this area here. I'm going to have to draw that out a little bit bigger. Okay. Actually, it looks like it took out a little too much, so let's bring some back. Make this a little bigger by using the the right bracket key. It's bigger, and we're just going to brush this all in here. And that looks pretty good now. Looks like the loop is selected. Let's make this super small here and just get rid of this little edge. Let me zoom in a little bit though first. Okay, back to our quick selection tool. Hold down your left bracket key to make that smaller. Alt key to subtract. And let's see if we can get that area removed. And let's see if we can fix this up a little bit. This isn't so crucial here. I mean, you're not going to notice any of that, so I'm not going to worry so much about that. Let's go back to fit screen. Let's look around. We have some problem areas here, so let's fix these up. Again, by just getting this right now, it's going to make everything easier later. Let's take a look, scan this image. So this is looking pretty good. Probably get the edge of this hat a little better. Let's fix this up so it doesn't look awkward later on. Just touch that up right there. We'll definitely see that white later, and we don't want to see the white. And other than that, this is looking pretty good. I'm about to say we take this as it is. Oop, let's just get that one right there. And that one. Let's just say now we're going to take this button right here, select and mask. Okay. And once we do that, let's go back to fit screen so we can see everything. Okay, and Photoshop has cut this image out and put it on this nice checkerboard for us so we can take a look at everything. Now, we have a few options we can use here. Edge detection, so we can take this out 1 or 2 pixels and use smart radius because, well, why wouldn't we want Photoshop to be smart, right? And I'm going to feather this a little bit by about 2 pixels just to make the edges a little bit smoother, a little smoothing as well. Because you don't want sharp edges. No one has, it's just not realistic to have a sharp edge on a person in a photograph. So by just smoothing things out a little bit and feathering, we give a little bit of a softer look to the edges, which is going to look more natural. So we're going to now take this and say, we're going to output it to a new layer with layer mask. I don't think we really need to decontaminate colors. That might work if we had a green or something like that. And let's just take a quick look before we accept this, but it looks pretty darn good to me. I'm pretty happy with it. And like I said, really getting that initial mask down right the first time really makes a big difference. So let's say okay. And now we are back in Photoshop. Let's go back to fit screen. Okay, so now the easiest way to take this girl and move her onto the beach is just to click on her. Right now the mask is selected, so we want to click on the girl. Okay, and we're going to just take this and drag it up to our beach tab, which we already have open, and then just drop her in the beach. Okay, now let's press Control T and then Control 0. Control 0 shrinks everything down so we can see the full size of the image. And now we can shrink our girl, our model, to the appropriate size that we want her to be. And that's looking pretty good right there. And double click to set her. And now let's fill our screen. Okay, or fit screen might be a little bit better. All right, so we have an edge here from the mask that we need to fix. You see this white edge right here, and that's not going to be a problem for us to fix. So we're going to click on the mask layer, which is right here. And then we're going to take a brush, a paint brush. Okay, not the history brush, the paint brush, there it is. And we're going to set this to black, the brush, click X to put the foreground color to black, and let's press that right bracket key. Make sure you are in normal mode for your brush, and let's just paint over that white line, and you see the line disappears. Okay. And I don't see it on this other side at all, so I think we're good on the other side. Okay. Okay, so now we have a girl in place on the beach, and she's looking pretty happy. We can just grab this move tool right here and place her to wherever we want. I don't think we want to cover the boat. Let's get her over here. Okay, that looks pretty good. And now what I want to do is, when I take a look at this image, first off, I think the girl's a little bit too big in the image, so I'm going to want to shrink her down. So Control T, Control 0 again. Let's make her a little bit smaller. Maybe there. That looks a little bit better. And get her to an interesting spot. And the beach, that looks nice. Okay, so this photograph of this beautiful beach scene, it's very heavy with blue, and it's daytime, it's daylight, and there is definitely a blue color cast. And now actually I am seeing that white line that we need to fix here from the mask. So let's fix that really quick. Let's go back over to the mask, and we're going to take our paintbrush and just paint right over that line there. Okay, that cleans that up. All right, so again though, this image, the beach, very, very heavy in blues. The sky is very heavy in blue, and it's got a very strong blue color cast to it. Our model clearly was not shot in the same light, and you can tell. It just looks like she was shot in a different place. Anybody who's real good at Photoshop is going to spot this right away. And when you look at it, you know, and you think about it, and you start looking at those tones, once it's pointed out to you, I think you're probably saying to yourself right now, yeah, no, that just doesn't look right. So how can we fix that? So it's actually pretty easy. I'm going to show you a pretty quick way how to do that. And then I'm going to give you also a free action that's going to help build this color correction setup for you. Okay, so you can look in the comments on how to download that action. But so the first thing we want to do is just create a new mask by clicking the, new layer by clicking the layer button, and press Shift and Backspace, and let's fill it with 50% gray. Okay, and now we're going to take it and we're going to change the mode to luminosity. And now we're going to add another layer. We're going to take an adjustment layer, select Hue and Saturation, and bring saturation all the way up to 100. And now basically what we're looking at is the saturation of this image, and you can see the colors of our model really don't match with the colors of the tree, the beach, etc., which should be very similar. I don't expect her to match with the colors of the sky or the water, but certainly I do expect her to match more closely with the beach and the tree. Okay, so this is going to be a pretty easy fix for us. Now what we need to do is add another layer, an adjustment layer. Okay, and what we're going to do is we're going to add a selective color layer. And now we're just going to take this layer and drag it down just over our girl. And we're going to take this layer and we're going to click Alt, and in between those two layers, once you see that little down arrow, holding Alt, you're going to click. That's going to create a clipping mask so that now anything that we do in this panel will only affect the girl and not the beach. So you want to select, if you're in reds, when this comes up, you want to select neutrals. Okay, if you're in neutrals, that's okay. And now what we're going to do is we're going to adjust these colors. So there's definitely more blue, and we know that, so let's start by adding in some blue. And right off the bat, as we add in blue, we start to see those tones more closely match the tree and the beach. And let's see how the yellow also comes in. I'm sure we're going to see some reflection of yellow off the sand, so let's bring in a little bit of that. Let's look at the magenta. Gotta be careful with the magenta because we don't want to affect our skin tones too much. Now let's just see how that looks right there, because we're much closer now already. So we just need to shut these two layers off, and to make this real easy, we can just take this layer and this layer, and holding the shift key, when you click the second layer, we'll select them both. And let's hit this little folder, and that'll put them in a group. And we'll name this group color match. Okay, and now we can turn this on and off. And so that's the changes that we've made. Okay, so let's look at the before and the after. Now it's a subtle change, but it makes a difference. It makes a big difference. Okay, here's the before. She's way too warm. This just doesn't look right. And now this more closely matches what would look like her being in the shadows of this sunlit beach. We can play with this a little bit more if we wanted to by just double clicking this little icon here in color saturation. That'll bring that back up. And again, we can just tweak our colors a little bit more. Maybe add in a little bit more blue. Let's see how that affects things. And that looks nice. All right, so I'm going to leave that just like that. So now we've more closely matched it. And you know what? It still bothers me a little bit. I think there's just a little bit too much yellow in there. Let's go back and let's just take a little of the yellow down. So I don't want to add in, we're adding in blue and we're adding in yellow, and of course, you know, that equals green, and I definitely don't want a green cast in there. All right, let's look at that. Okay, great. Okay, so that eliminates a little bit of that green tint that I thought I was starting to see there. Okay, so now that this is more closely matching what we would expect in the colors of this photograph, the next thing I want to take a look at is the shadow. Now, clearly, the sunlight is casting shadows behind our model. So the sun must be in front of her and up above those trees somewhere. So she should have a shadow down here somewhere. Looking at the angle of the tree shadows, she should have a shadow falling down here as well. So I'm going to show you a super easy technique to create a drop shadow, and you're going to really like this. So let's select our model by clicking on her layer again, and make sure you don't have the mask selected. Make sure you have the model selected. Now just go down here to Effects and choose Drop Shadow. Okay, now that's going to make a drop shadow for us. Okay, and now we can change the angle that the shadow's out by clicking here. Okay, and that gives us the angle of the sun essentially. So it would be realistically somewhere over here, and your distance may not be this far. Your distance may be like right over here. You may be seeing the shadow very close, but you can just drag this slider and that'll move that shadow away. And now you can just simply go onto the shadow. So just move your mouse out of the layer style box and drag the shadow away. Okay, just like that. And now just click OK. Now the next step here is just to go up to Layer, and what we're going to do is we're going to go to Layer Style, and we're going to create layer. So we're creating a layer from the layer style. Just hit OK, and now that creates a new layer here that you'll see just appeared that says background shadow. Okay, now we can take this layer with this nice shadow that Photoshop has created for us and manipulate it any way we want into this image. So let's press Ctrl T for transform, and I'm going to just start to drag this shadow out, and let's make it smaller, and we can move it around to wherever we want. And I think her shadow would actually be a lot smaller given the size of the trees and the size of these shadows. So maybe somewhere around here, maybe there. That looks pretty good, I think. So double click to accept that, and now it looks maybe a little bit too bright to me, so we can just go up here with the background shadow layer selected, go to opacity, and just dial that down a little bit. Yeah, I like that there, maybe 75%. Okay, and now just like that, we have dropped in a shadow for her. And again, if you don't like it, you can just click back on the layer, click the move tool, and move it out to wherever you think it's going to look best. Kind of like it right there, I think. And there you go. So really, that's all there is to it. We have taken our initial image. Let's take a look at the before, just the beach, and threw a model in there, the after, and we did a pretty good job. It looks pretty good. It looks pretty realistic. There's not a lot of problems. Obviously, these white spots might be a problem, and again, in a super advanced tutorial, we could take care of selecting these white spots by selecting the color range, and that would allow the sky to shine through. However, in me experimenting with that, I felt that it actually shined through so much that it was a little bit distracting and looked a little bit unrealistic. If it really bothered you, those white spots, what I would suggest you do is maybe go in here and take the smudge tool, and while selecting our model, maybe just smudge them out and eliminate them. Okay, that would be one way of taking care of it. Or alternately, the other way, like I said, is to do a select color range on them and let the sky come through. I didn't, like I said, I didn't particularly like it. I thought it was a little bit too much. But aside from that, I think overall the image came out great. Hope you find this helpful. Again, this color matching setup that we did here, I do have an action for that will automate that for you in just one click, so you can download that for free, and in the description will be a link on how to do that. And I hope that you enjoyed this video, and thanks for watching. So I hope you found that video helpful. If you did, maybe you could help me out. This channel is a new channel, and having likes and subscribers certainly helps me out. So if you found any of the techniques helpful, please do me a favor and help me by clicking like, clicking subscribe, and ringing the bell so you get notified when I post new videos. So thanks again for watching, and hope to see you next time. Take care.